This is in response to Dr. Paul Krugman's article in the New York Times on Monday, April 6, 2015, Economics and Elections. And again, I want to applaud Dr. Krugman. That's almost like a broken record with me, is that he's bringing up issues that need to be brought up that are sort of outside the day-to-day talking heads scenario of whatever catastrophe may be going on, or whatever meme, or whatever you want that they want to bring up. And of course, there's an election kind of coming up in Britain, and in Britain they've had a number of ups and downs since the Great Recession from 2008, 2009. Possibly you could look at it as 2007 in Britain. And here it is, 2015. It's gone up, it's gone down, it's gone up, it's gone down. And right now the real income for people in Britain are just achieving the levels that they were in 2007. And of course, I don't know how long this government's been in. I think it's been that 2009. It was after Tony Blair. And so it has a worse GDP. The GDP has been worse, or the level of income has been worse since 2007 than it was in the Great Depression from that time frame from 1929 to 1935. But the elected officials in England and Great Britain are basically saying that, we protected the country. Look how great a job we do. We should be reelected. And what's up with all of that? Where is that coming from? And Dr. Krugman points out that there's a wide body of evidence, a range of study that indicates that a lot of times before election, if the economy goes up even slightly in the last year or so before the election, sometimes even the last 6 months, that the electorate, which would be the same over there as it is over here, would have very short memories. So a number of the policies, the austerity policies that are going on here in the United States, and the austerity policies, which were even worse in Great Britain, that are going on over there right now, they're going to be rewarded for that type of bad behavior. So Dr. Krugman points out, is that because we don't really, a lot of the electorate really doesn't follow the economic swaying and what good policy is and what a good steward of the government is, and the necessity for the types of goods and services that the government must provide, that a lot of times that when it gets close to election, if things have changed just even a slight amount, they'll go for the party that might be in power, or if it goes down just a slight amount, they'll go for the party that's not in power. So a lot of times elections are based on economics and not necessarily on the political end of it, regardless of how much all the people talk about. Now, one of the important things to remember is that when certain talking points rule the airwaves, it's hard to get a good discussion in as to what is good policy for the United States. So one of the Republican talking points for years and years and years has been the deficit. And of course, the Republicans who are in power now and the Republicans who were in power earlier, let's say before after Obama got elected and were there during the Bush administration, had no problem running up deficits after deficit after deficit, extending our deficits into the future, allowing the war cost to be defrayed, off the books, not counted for, paid for, but no increase in taxes or no increase in something to pay for those things. They were all for that. But then when our President Obama came in here, then boom, those deficits are as far as the eye could see. We've got to protect our grandchildren and great-grandchildren, and, it's really bad stewardship by the Obama administration. So all of this happy horse crap came out. But the point is that when you're ruling the airwaves, when you're running your mouth right and left, and you keep saying the same talking point day in and day out, then that sometimes becomes the point where people actually believe that is actually true. And Dr. Krugman goes on to point out that this is why we really need to have some good reporting. We really need to have people, go after the Republicans and say, why is this a bad deal? And what, and in terms of, I'm talking about something not economic right now, but about the Iran deal. Look at what the Iran deal provides. Boom, 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 boom. Isn't that better than war? Why should we go to war? What will a war do for us? And the same thing with economics. We had much greater deficits in World War II. We paid them off. Can't we pay this one off? Why can't we raise taxes on the wealthy and raise the Social Security level above 113,000 so that we can take care of Social Security for the next 75 years, so that we can invest? We have, 60,000 bridges that are not being taken care of right now. We have $2 trillion that we need for infrastructure. Why can't you find it in your heart to raise some taxes on some wealthy people to start this ball rolling? But we don't have that. We don't have a media that will hammer our Republicans. Now, there's a big reasons for that. Is the Republicans will just go on to Fox News and they'll just spout off their happy nonsense all over the place, and then all of a sudden it becomes gospel. And so if you're in the mainstream, if you're with CNN or MSNBC or NBC, ABC or whatever, and you ask some tough questions, they're never going to come back on your show. Remember when Chris Matthews took apart Michelle Bachmann, and she basically was saying that there are people in Congress who needed to be investigated for un-American activities? Scott Walker's not going to be, but his handlers are going to keep a close eye on him because he's had a number of mistakes lately, especially in terms of foreign policy, and he's proven that he doesn't know that much. So he goes back onto Fox News, he spouts his talking points. So what this basically indicates is that number one, the electorate has a short memory. Number two, there isn't necessarily a reward for good policy if a short-term economic, not loss or gain, but if there's a slight slowdown in a recovery or a slight, a slight slowdown in unemployment. In fact, Dr. Krugman even said, well, that would mean that maybe we should just tank the economy for a couple of years, let it go up a little bit, to claim you're doing great, and then come back into power and tank it again, because that seems to be what the Republicans want. And the big thing about this is this really isn't about politics. This is about power. And this is about people who are in power staying in power. And that are people who have a high economic level keeping that high economic level. And the people who have the high economic level want the people in power who will help keep them with the high economic level. See how that goes? So as I like to say, knowledge gets you nowhere. What gets you somewhere is power. Self-knowledge also avails us nothing. But power is what's going to happen. Power is what's going to rule you. And us needs to stop.